I am delighted to be welcoming back one of the most popular guests that I've had actually on the Neil Wilkins podcast, Mr. Larry Easto. Now, Larry is a veteran, if you like, of professional business services with over 40 years' experience as a lawyer, consultant, writer, trainer, coach, and the author of some 30 books, I understand. He's been advising and guiding business professionals, sharing practical strategies for professional and personal growth through some, well, 4 decades, I understand. I mean, this is a seasoned professional. Welcome back, Larry.
Good to be back. I sound old. I sound as if I've been around
Well,
forever.
it's incredible, isn't it? Those accolades, the number of books, the amount of
Yeah.
experience, the number of years. It really has changed, though, hasn't it? I mean, I guess I could sort of count nearly as many years as you here. So I kind of guess thinking back to the old days, it's very different now, isn't it?
Um, yeah. It is. It is. It's funny because I look back at what I've done. I mean, I started out in my legacy project, which has now evolved into an exit plan, and I don't realize how much I've done until I write it down. Because in some respects, I'm very much in the moment. And if I'm writing, I'm into that book, or if I'm on a project, I'm into that project, and I forget about what's happened before. And something happens, or somebody asks me a question, and I pause and I think, oh yeah, 35 years ago, that, or whatever. And I say, whoa, where did that come from? So I continue to amaze myself with some of the answers I come up with. Because as I say, I'm very much in the moment and the future. I certainly drawing upon the past, but just the experiences are so rich. So it's great to be able to share them.
Do you think that level of, and I'm going to use the word, and I use it kind of advisedly, but that level of wisdom, which comes purely from being there and playing in the game for so long, do you think that gives you a sense of kind of being able to relax into all these, quite profound changes that we're all seeing with the advent of AI, and there's sustainability, there's a huge political and economic kind of flux going on, across many continents right now. Do you feel that having been there, seen it, done it in probably many different cycles gives you that level of, I guess, confidence that we can all kind of get through this?
That's interesting. I don't think so. I think that for me, I'm an insatiable learner. I've always loved learning, and it's taken me a long time to recognize how much I love learning. But I remember as a kid, just as soon as I learned to read, and I learned to read probably when I was 4 or 5, coming back from the library with armfuls of books, new books to get into. So I get excited about new things, sometimes too excited, but I get excited about new ideas. AI, for example, I was aware of it, and it wasn't until I took a deeper dive into it that I thought, hey, wow, this is amazing. This means that I don't have to do things I'm not very good at. This morning I did a LinkedIn post, and I needed a headline. So I've got a site that I go to, a headline generator. So I just put in the keywords, and out it popped this headline, which I think is really great. So for me, it's things like AI have allowed me to certainly play with it, but it gives me more time to do what I do best, which is in terms of writing, it's creative and putting ideas together. And if it's an area that I'm not good at, like writing headlines or copywriting or something like that, it fills in the spaces. So it's kind of like the old business wisdom: grow to your strength and hire to your weakness. But instead of hiring, I'm using AI or using a different program or something. So it's, in some respects, it's expanded my ability to be my creative self.
Which is really exciting, isn't it? Because
Oh, it
almost
is.
feels then that there aren't barriers, there's no limitation, and if you can dream something or wish something, you can actually make it happen now.
Yeah,
There's
and
no
the
kind
only
of
the only
no
limitation is
excuses.
slow down, Larry. You can only do so much. I mean,
Well,
you've
there
only
is
got so
that.
many hours in the day. You can only do so much. So that's the limitation. Yeah, it's really, I find it really exciting, and, so I don't. I don't feel as if I'm knowledgeable and wise until I hear myself talking. I mean, the things are there. So I need somebody like you to bring it out, because I wouldn't do it on my own. I need something to trigger the answers, to access the information that's there.
Which is an interesting one, isn't it? Because I guess it's always been that way, hasn't it? Not just for you,
Oh,
but for a lot of us who, there is this, incredible, wealth of technology
oh
and
yeah, yeah,
possibilities now that we can scale up what we're doing and almost, as you say, just play to our strengths. And yet within that, this core kind of element of being human is
yeah,
still very much at the center of everything, isn't it? Did you find that
yes,
we always revert back to the
yeah.
humanness in ourselves?
Very, very, very much so. I'm I was born in a part of Canada that Indigenous people, there were a lot of Indigenous people around, and as I matured, as I grew, I became fascinated with the role of wisdom keeper. Most Indigenous nations have wisdom's keeper, and I thought, what a great name! I want to be a wisdom keeper. It's not a librarian; it's a wisdom keeper, and so it's kind of fascinated me. Just an idea that has fascinated me, and so that's, I guess in some respects that's what I'm probably doing. But I get so excited about learning. Yesterday I was talking with somebody who has just finished law school here in Toronto, and he's going to New York, and he's going to be he's going to write the Ontario and the New York bar exams. And here I am towards the end of my career, and I'm thinking, wow, that's amazing. How did he do that? How did that happen? And he did a joint master's MBA and law degree at the law school I went to. I'm thinking, wow, isn't it ever fascinating? Those two streams together. And now he's going to New York, and he's going to write the New York bar exam and the Ontario bar exam. How can you do that? Not that I want to, but how can you do that? So I'm just continued to be curious about new things. And this was just like a chance encounter. It wasn't a set up meeting. We just happened to chat. And wow, I'm now excited about it. So we're having lunch so I can find out what he's doing. Not that I'll do it, but I'm excited about that possibility, that potential.
That feels very entrepreneurial in terms of almost like an innate ability, preference, or skill, however you'd want to define it. Do you feel that people who are going to get on in life, particularly obviously in professional services where you've spent, most of your sort of, professional career, do you find in that area, that kind of space of professional activity, that to be entrepreneurial, you almost have to have this thirst for development and learning and progress as a human?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Well, we probably both know people who have run the same business for like 20 years or 30 years. You can't do that today. Yeah, the products you had yesterday are obsolete today. And so it's so to be entrepreneurial, you really do have to be aware of things. And the flip side is, for someone for like Jared, who's got all these amazing ideas. I mean, he would have no trouble running 27 businesses because he's just got so many interests, and could somehow marry them into one, combine them into one successful, multifaceted business. So yeah, and I think part of it is the desire to share. When most of us have a good experience, whether it's a magnificent bottle of wine or a movie or a book or something, we want to share it. So it becomes more enjoyable and more pleasant once we share our ideas with others. So that's another thing that's happening there. There's so much going on that when I start to share something with somebody, they come back at me, and it's not a tit for tat kind of thing. We just get so excited about sharing what we've learned. And again, I'm attracted to people who are passionate about learning. I'm really tired of stories I've heard 57,000 times. So I'm really attracted to people who are doing new things. So maybe it's how I've narrowed my life. I don't know, but yeah, definitely entrepreneurial, very much, very entrepreneurial.
Because it feels exciting, doesn't it? I mean, if you go
Oh,
into a
yeah.
conversation, be it, in a networking meeting or some kind of new business situation, and suddenly the conversation turns more into a co-creation of something new or
Yeah.
something exciting. I mean, that's next level, isn't it? Not
Oh,
just
yeah.
regurgitating what we've always had. I
Yeah.
mean, that's where the game changing starts, isn't it?
And I love the concept co-creating. It is such an amazing kind of concept. Couple of things there. I'm currently working through a 28-day breakthrough program just because I thought it might be interesting. And the facilitator keeps talking about co-creating with the energy around us, co-creating with the universe. And way back when, I guess about the time I left law, I was very interested in creation of spirituality, and I still am. And one of the concepts they use there is co-creating with God. And so this whole idea of co-creating and now co-creating with the universe, like, sure, I've done 31 books or whatever, but I didn't do it on my own. I had this magnificent universe as a co-creator. And that to me is exciting because it means there's no end. There's just no end.
Where does that start for you then, Larry? Because I've got I guess, a personal interpretation of what you've just said, and I can certainly relate to it. But for you, where does that kind of begin? Because for many people, and I'll use the phrase leap of faith, I think it probably is a leap of faith when they can't necessarily see the outcome. They've never kind of experienced this kind of, yes, I guess, faith in co-creation with something or some entity or just an energy field. Where on earth do you begin to kind of really kind of understand that concept? Because it can be quite alien, I think, for a lot of people who are very much more practiced in the nuts and bolts or the physical realities of what's around them. This is much more ethereal,
Yeah.
isn't it?
It is, and I'm smiling because last week somebody asked me the same question, so I have an answer for it.
Excellent. You've timed that one right.
The advantage of doing podcasts. The question was this person asked me about breakthroughs, significant breakthroughs in my life. And in some respects, my life, a lot of my key decisions have been made by default. I became a lawyer by default because I didn't know what else I wanted to do. And so many other things I did by default. Other situations, there were dramatic triggers. My very first job, I'd qualified as a lawyer, but I wasn't practicing law. I went to Mexico. I went to Mexico in, I guess it was a February of one year. And I came back really sick. We thought it was the revenge, the diarrhea, all that kind of stuff. It turned out to be typhoid fever, and I was hospitalized with typhoid fever for like a month and a half. And I remember a situation that I had an out-of-body experience, near-death experience, that I saw myself being lifted up from the hospital bed. And my family was there, and the medical people were there. And a voice said to me, "Larry, it's okay. It's not your turn yet." And so I saw myself going back down. So I'm treating this as a near-death experience. My faith is strong enough that I think that was God talking to me. And so that was part of it. When I went back to work, I was expecting, because I'd been off work, I guess, 2 months. When I went back to work, I was expecting my desk to be covered with paper. I expected it to be just a mess. And it was spotless. It was absolutely spotless. And I walked in and my secretary saw what had happened. I guess my face fell. And she said, "Oh, it's okay. Everything's taken care of." And I said, "Oh." And what was going through my mind was how dispensable I was. Here I thought I had this important job and I'm out of it for 2 months and there's not a piece of paper on my desk. And she reassured me and said, "Oh, there's still lots for you to do. Don't be upset. There's still lots for you to do." And she explained that I was in a position that it was a large organization. So they just sent somebody else in to do my work. So looking back at that, on the one hand, I've got God saying, "It's not your time yet. We've got something for you to do." And I got the realization that I am not indispensable. So it means that and this just hit me, it gave me permission to make mistakes, And so as a result of that, I don't like making mistakes, but I accept them. And I think I've learned that I can do it. I can do it. Maybe not perfect, maybe not the way I'd like it done, but I can do it. The course that I'm taking, or the program I'm taking, she talks about faith, and not a heavy duty intense faith, but she says every time you exhale, that's an act of faith, because you're going to inhale. Every time you get rid of the breath, it's going to come back. And so that's kind of where I'm at and I'm not where I'm at, but I'm thinking that may be how I operate. That at some level there's now, I don't do stupid things. I'm not about to go bungee jumping or something like that. I know my limits, but I think I have this this basic faith that anything I want to do, I probably can. And I'm not bragging or not saying that's a noble characteristic. I think it's just part of who I am. And it's probably maybe the near-death experience was part of it. Maybe this trivial, every time you exhale, that's an act of faith. It may be the holistic thing. My brain hasn't really processed that yet, but I know that it's there. Like, I've got a number of things I want to do. I don't know how I'm going to do them, but I'm fairly confident I can. When the time comes, I will figure out how to do it.
Does it give you a sense of being able to almost sort of hand over the controls, if you like, or hand over that kind of accountability or responsibility for the making it happen to something or someone else? Because it feels like you're having to almost surrender, if I was to use that word, to be able to make that happen. Sounds really exciting. Sounds like the kind of thing that opens up a host of opportunities if we don't just try and battle on by ourselves in our own way, the way we've always done it, but actually surrendering to an opportunity of maybe seeing it in a different way or doing it in a different way. Is that necessary to be part of this?
And again, for me, it's I'm realizing now that it's an instinctive or an intuitive reaction. I guess I have the satisfaction of having enough achievements that, hey, I can do one more. I can do one more. The flip side is, and I know people who are lifelong victims. For them, the idea of doing something simple, they just couldn't do it. I know one lady who is in her 70s, and she got a list of problems. For the idea for her to go to the grocery store is just impossible, just absolutely impossible. Physically, it's impossible. She'd need a car to drive her to the grocery store, or an ambulance or something. So it's part of life experience. It's part of life experience. One of the affirmations I really like is things get clearer and easier as I take action. And so the first step is taking action. Even though I don't know where I'm going to go, I have the experience-driven confidence that I can probably get there. Again, in most of my work, I didn't like giving clients answers. I didn't like telling them what to do, but I loved helping them help find solutions to their problems, which doesn't mean I had all the answers. Sometimes the answer was simply, I can't do that. I'm not the right person to do that. Let me find you someone who can help it. That's helping the client. Yeah. And it's also helping me, but I totally lost my train of thought on that. But no, I think it's a confidence of again, the program I'm working on, she talks about the support system, all the people and animals that have loved you in the past. Just imagine they are there with you now, driving you forward. And I've got my 2 dogs by my side, and some of my best friends from university and all that kind of thing. I haven't seen them in years, but in my mind, I've got the energy of the connection there to help keep the positive energy there and flowing forward.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that, Larry, because it feels that so far everything you've been talking about is quite introspective. It's quite looking inward and reflecting on how
Yeah,
you
yeah.
or anybody might kind of be feeling or thinking, or as we say, giving up that or surrendering to that opportunity or responsibility. How much does this involve others? I know we'd said at the start that we were going to be talking about, effective, interpersonal relationship building, and I guess this is a really sort of poignant moment to kind of introduce that idea in, is kind of how much does it rely on others? Because
A
it feels like
lot.
once you're kind of giving stuff up, it's like it has to involve other
A
humans.
lot, a
Mm,
lot. It's interesting. I think, yeah. After we talked last time, I was invited to do a presentation for a a conference on neurodivergency, and I am a highly sensitive person. 20 to 30% of the population is HSP. So I did some research in terms of what it meant to be HSP. I figured probably 20 years ago that I had this characteristic, but it's like being right-handed. So what? What's that mean? And I didn't really take it seriously. And so I did some research in terms of, well, okay, as an HSP, what characteristics do I have? What are my strengths? What are my weaknesses? All those kinds of things. And I realized, yeah, I really am an introvert. I am at the core, I'm an introvert. So over the past probably 3 years, I've been really, really introverted. I haven't done a lot. I spent a lot of time in front of the computer screen, and we've moved to a new place downtown Toronto, and there's a ravine out behind me with all sorts of nature. Never see anybody out there unless there's service people coming to do something on the building. So I've become really, really introverted, and I'm as I said, I'm converting my legacy project to my exit plan. And as I'm working this through, I'm thinking that's a lot of work. Whoa, wait a minute. Where is your support network? I've let my support network fall apart over the past 3 years because I've been doing this kind of thing, and I've been doing a lot of work on my own. I've been embracing my introverted side and all those kinds of things. And I've realized, wait a minute, I can't do this on my own. This is too big for me. This is far too big for me to do on my own. So I'm starting to rebuild or build a support network. And it's interesting because the guy that I was talking to yesterday, he's in a totally different field. He's going to be working at high level mergers and acquisitions in New York, which is about as far away from me as it's possible to be. But he's got a really amazing energy. So I want him as part of my support network because of his energy. And so I'm in the process of building a support network that resembles what I've had in the past, but is maybe more focused. And tonight I'm starting lawn bowling. I've lawn bowled once in my life before. I figure I'm old enough now I can do it. And when I was younger, I loved curling, and lawn bowling is basically the same category. And the same thing there is just to start to expand my support network. Now I'm not looking to the other bowlers to be helping me with my business plans, but just the personal interaction, the energy, just the being with them, the laughing, the having fun. That's all part of the same package. So it's yeah. A lot of the talk has been about my thoughts or my actions as an introvert, but that would not have been possible without the support network in the past. I mean, I could not have the confidence to do what I'm doing now if in university I didn't have a great support network that supported me in all my extracurricular activities. And as a lawyer, I couldn't have done what I did if I didn't have great staff to help me. So I'm moving back to the importance of a support network now, with the advantage of, okay, I want these kinds of people, I don't want those kinds of people, so I can be more selective in who I have as my support work. So it's funny, as an introvert, I'm scared stiff about schmoozing and making new friends and everything, but as a creative person, just the opportunity to co-create, I'm thinking, yeah, bring it on. So there's these mixed feelings. Get back to me in a month and I'll be blah, 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 blah. But it's one of those passages of life. There's a time for everything, and now is the time for me to reconnect with bright, capable, competent people.
This is a really interesting one. Actually, I have no idea we're going to go and be talking about this
It's
particular
fun.
kind of thing. It's just the way we do this, isn't it?
Oh yeah.
But one of the things I was thinking there as you were describing that is that anybody at any stage of their career, be they starting out, be they maybe, I don't know, 10, 15 years into career, either employed or self-employed or running a business or entrepreneurial stuff, or a lot later in their career, maybe you can call it twilight of the career, maybe. There's something here about this constant kind of checking and balancing and reflecting on the support network, isn't there? Because who you needed back at day one is going to be potentially quite different to who you need now, or who you can provide or cooperate with or
Yeah.
collaborate or co-create with. Again, could be very different. Would you see this as something that should be constantly looked at and reevaluated? Because what's the phrase? You can have a friend for a season, a reason, or for life. And those are very, very different friends, aren't they? I think I'm paraphrasing a little bit there,
Yeah.
but I think it's quite important to kind of constantly review that. Doesn't mean that the people you maybe leave behind or leave at the wayside are kind of bad people, or that you don't value them anymore, but it's maybe time has moved on and you just need somebody a little different for different reasons. Am I kind of reflecting that right?
That's interesting. I think to me it goes back to a combination of probably personal characteristics and mindset. I know people whose support network is their childhood friends, like they're my age, and their personal support network is their childhood friends or friends they made along the way, and they get together. What they do is reminisce about the past, and if that's where their mind is, and I think that's and I'm not being pejorative here, but that's more of a limiting mindset, and with that kind of a mindset, that's ideal. It's exactly what they need. Flip side is for maybe someone like you or I has a growth mindset. You got it. I mean, people that I was friends with 20 years ago, I don't even know where they are now. My best friends are people I met 2 years ago, kind of thing. So we have a growth mindset. The growth mindset has to be fed different inputs, different opportunities, all that kind of stuff. The same people that are nurturing lifelong friendships and family relationships and all those kinds of things really aren't interested in AI. They're probably scared of it if they've heard of it. They're total technoklutzes. They've given their choice, they'd rather write with pen and paper. And there's, again, nothing wrong with that. If that's the decision people make, so be it. But I think for those of us who value growth and value development, there is a lot of letting go and moving on. And it's really important to let go of things that are no longer serving us. When I was in first second year university, man, I could party my ass off all night and get the work done in the daytime. 9 o'clock at night, and I'm in bed now. I just can't do that kind of stuff. So I had to let go of that kind of partying and focus on other kinds of things. Just as I'm in the process of letting go of working solitary to build a support network. We let go and move on. And so when things are no longer serving their purpose, we let go of them. And that's the whole downsizing thing. That's the whole growth thing. We let go of ideas we used to have so we can free up our energy to produce new things, if that's what we want. Lots of people don't.
I mean, if that was something that somebody listening to this decided or thought, suddenly they have this awakening moment. Larry's mentioned this situation that actually feels really positive, and I feel like I need it right now. How much would they or should they be looking at quite a diverse network of relationships? I'm thinking diversity in terms of life experience, definitely age could come into it, maybe different kind of professional backgrounds, etc. Because you don't want to be in an echo chamber, do you? You don't want to be surrounding yourself with yes people who are going to just agree with every single wacky idea that you come up with. You want people who are going to challenge and see things differently with a different lens, don't you?
It's interesting you said that. It triggered a whole bunch of thoughts. When we moved from the suburbs to downtown. Within a month or so, I started going to a new church. There's a beautiful big church, a 20-minute walk away, and I've always loved this building. It's just spectacular, absolutely spectacular. And I'd never been to a service there. And I about 3 years ago, I decided I was going to a service there just because I wanted to see the church inside. And I was expecting everybody to be old and white and boring and dull and all that kind of thing. It was an Anglican church. I mean, that's what we expected of ourselves, I guess. And I went inside and I just stopped dead. There was just so much energy there. This was the music before the service started. There was just so much energy there. Beautiful, beautiful building. And I didn't see too many old, white, boring, fausty people. Total diversity, just a huge diversity. And the music was contemporary music with a live drum, and wow, great. So I've become part of that community. And one of our taglines is, we are a diverse and growing community. And I noticed this yesterday was Mother's Day, and the demographics are just right across the board. We have Toronto is as you know, it's a very diverse city. We have people living in Toronto from every country in the world. Some of them are going to that church. And I just, as we're talking, I'm thinking that's part of the energy there. It's the diversity of people that are there. It's people like me with my experience from rural Ontario talking to a young guy who's going to be a lawyer in New York City. That diversity. One of our priests is from Nigeria. Just an amazing guy. Sometimes he gets so excited I can't understand what he's saying. And he says the same about me. So, but just that diversity there. And yesterday at the service, the Sunday school did the music during the Eucharist. And there were just so many kids of different skin colors, like from black to beige to white to Asian, South Asian, just like the city. It represented the city. And again, that was the energy. That's part of the energy. And that's part of the energy that you and I feed on. The flip side is it scares the bejeebers out of people who just want to be with their childhood friends. Because the differentness.
Yeah. It's so different, isn't it? And I think one of the things that I'm kind of sensing here is that there's probably choice, isn't there, in terms of do I go seeking this, and almost do I plan who I want to have in this network of relationships? Absolutely. Or do I, as you were saying before, do I just surrender to, okay, I'm open here, and this is two introverts talking, for goodness sake. This is hard. This is hard yards. But imagine this, we're both there kind of open and receiving of, the universe or whoever or whatever, sending us the right people at the right time. Is that a better way of doing it than
I think it's, again, it goes back to being in the moment. And instead of being so locked into the past or so focused on the future, we don't take the time to enjoy what's happening in the moment. Whether it's my 28-day breakthrough course or yesterday's Mother's Day service, which was just a blast. At one point, they were doing "Oh Happy Day," and that's a classic gospel song. There's a gospel song in a 180-year-old Anglican church. Come on! But it was just, the whole place was just rocking. And people going up for communion, they were almost dancing. And I'm thinking, this is not the Anglican church of my parents, but that's okay. They're not here. So it's just a case of being aware of the moment. And I think that for a variety of reasons, some of us are prepared to believe we're going to replace the breath we just lost. Others worry about it. Subconsciously, they worry about letting go because they will never have this again. Well, no, but you may have something better. And so it's just, it keeps coming back to mindset and I think genetics and makeup. And certainly choice. We always have a choice. We always have a choice.
Yeah, I was going
even
to say,
it's
is that
sometimes,
something that can be trained? Do you think for somebody who sits there thinking, well, yeah, okay, it's fine for you, Larry and Neil, talking about this, but you're old guys, you've been there, seen it, done it.
yeah,
You've got the confidence to be able to do it, but look at me, I can't do that in my life. I've got all these responsibilities. I've
yeah,
got to put, food on the table. I've got
yeah,
this, and maybe I've got a health issue or something. I haven't got
true.
those choices. What would you say to people like that?
I don't know. I have trouble with. I have. I don't. It's not a case of not liking them. I don't have the skill set to do that kind of thing. Um, I would my I would try to find. I would help them find a therapist. I would help them find a priest. I would help them find somebody else other than me to do that. During the course of my life, I've done I think I've done 3 first aid courses, but I'm not a first responder. There's a crisis going on. I want out of there. Not that I'm nervous. It's just I want to get out of the way. Let the people who are good at it do it. When I was articling, when I was training as a lawyer, one of the lawyers said that the role of the lawyer is to help help put Humpty Dumpty back together again after he's had the great fall. And this is what litigation's all about. And in my naivety, I said, why can't we help him find a better place to sit? And the response was, that's not what lawyers do. And I said, why not? So that's the difference right there. So yeah, there are people hurting, and I don't deny that. I don't dislike them. I don't dishonor them. It's just that I'm not the person to help them. Just as a paramedic is not the person to help make a transformation in somebody's life. Paramedics are first responders. So first responders do what they do really well. So yeah, there's all sorts of people. I think it starts with a faith in yourself. It starts from instead of I can't, I can. And as long as all they hear is I can't, I can't, I can't. Well, guess what? I can't help you. But once I start hearing I can, then I can probably help. I can't change people's minds. But once there's an open mind, invariably I can find some kind of a solution. But the thing is, lots of people don't want solutions. They want to hang on to the problem so they can have something to complain about, or it's their identity or whatever. And again, and that's a choice. You can always choose what you believe. And if you believe you're a victim, you will be a victim. So it comes back to fundamental choice.
Which is hugely powerful, isn't it? Because
It
then,
really is.
having made a choice, you live with the
Yeah.
consequence. And we're not here to
Oh, it
judge.
really
We're not here
is.
to say, hey, you guys are doing it right, or you guys are
Yeah,
doing it wrong. But that's the harsh reality, isn't it? Whatever
exactly.
you choose, whatever direction, whether it's
Sure.
to be to surrender or not,
Yeah.
or to consciously plan this, or to just surrender to, okay, I'm open to people being in my network, present
Yeah.
yourselves kind of thing.
Yeah. Oh,
There's
yeah. Yeah.
consequence to all these decisions,
Oh,
isn't there?
absolutely. One of the books that has been a powerful influence in my life is Jack Canfield's book, Success Principles. And success principle number 1 is you are 100% responsible for your own well-being. And if somebody's not prepared to accept that, yeah, we need a team of first responders. And I didn't, when I read that, I thought that's nice. That's nice that's nice thinking. But as I reflect on it, yeah, it's true. It's true. Like everything is a choice. Certainly breathing and we have automatic functions, but so many of the things we do are choices, and a lot of choices are made by habit. A lot of choices are made by fear. A lot of choices are made by ego. Who knows what's driving the choices? But it comes down to choice.
So if anybody's listening to this and you think, I'm going to now choose, having listened to Larry, I'm going to choose to explore, I'm going to choose to surrender, I'm going to choose to have a faith in something greater than me, I'm going to choose to open up the idea of building a network of relationships that allow me to co-create, I'm going to choose that actually I can do this. what would you say to them? Would you say, welcome, let's talk? Or would you say,
Yeah,
good luck, you're on your own? How would you respond to somebody who kind of just jumps on this? Because, huge opportunity.
first of all, I'd probably say congratulations. That's a great choice. That's an absolutely great choice. And whatever I can do to help you, I will. I could pitch my book. I could pitch my course. But it's. I'm not the only person in the field. There's lots of other people doing great work. I think part of the choice is choosing what's right for an individual. Doing, the joy of the internet is you can take a look at 3, 4, 7, 10 different approaches and then choose the one that's right for you. And if my approach to helping people is right, wonderful. If not, well, hey, that's one less thing you have to worry about. Fine, there's other choices out there. So choice starts with evaluating everything we're going to do, and we do it too. Before I pitch to a podcast, I go through the exercise of saying, is this right for me? Is this the right thing for me? Is it going to be awkward and embarrassing, or is it going to be mutually beneficial? So it's making the choice based on investigation. Do some research, check out what's going on, and so it's the same if somebody decides, I'm going to transform my life. I'll see what Larry's got, and if they like it, if they see it and they don't like it, well, hey, okay, I'm sorry, but try somebody else. I'm not the only guy in the field, but it's doing something. It's the hardest part is doing something, is making the decision rather than by default to do what you've always done. And it's interesting to me because I'm at this stage in my life, I'm diametrically opposite of where I was at the early stage when I didn't know what I wanted to do. And now I'm just so focused, so focused on where I want to do. And as a result of not knowing what I wanted to do, I've had a ton of experiences which I can now use as learning opportunities.
Every day is a learning day.
Oh, yeah.
Every day is an education. It's exciting.
Yeah.
Larry, if somebody wants to take that leap of faith, that first kind of step in this new journey of awakening, I guess we could call it that, how do they contact you?
Well, there's two places. One is LinkedIn, and the other is my website. And I'll take that one step further. If somebody does want to make a change, go about doing something different, I even have a free book. They can get a book called New Beginnings, New Opportunities, Letting Go and Moving On. And you can download that from my website. Don't need an address. Just click on the link and bingo, it's on your screen, and you can start it. And if it gives somebody one idea, it's served its purpose. So LarryEasto.com or I'm on LinkedIn. I do something on LinkedIn every weekday.
Wonderful. Larry, it's always an absolute pleasure talking to you. So many ideas, so many different ways of looking at life and the universe and everything. So I'm really grateful to catch up.
This was fun. This was fun. Maybe when I retire, we can do another one on retirement.
I think we probably should. We can build.
Well, as I said, I'm transitioning from my legacy project to my exit plan. And the exit plan doesn't mean retirement. It just means doing something different. But we'll keep in touch, and any new ideas will come up. We'll see what you can play with.
Larry's never going to retire properly, people. You understand this, don't you? Larry is not the retiring type.
I know people who are retired, and it looks really boring.
Yeah, you're not going to be doing that anytime soon.
I hope not.
That's all good. That's great. Thank you so much for your time.
Oh, thank you. That was great, Neil.